Okay, so we're now starting the last parallel session of CAP 2026. The topic for this session is the science and practice of astronomy communication. My name is Yara. I'm the in-person chair alongside my dear colleague, my dear online chair, Aishigu. And together we will present to you the next session. So first and foremost, we have Silvia, Casu with the Gerrei Astrofest, building bridges between the science and territory through a diffuse festival model. So enjoy this talk and let's clap for our speaker.
Thank you so much, and welcome back. I'm Silvia Casu, a researcher from Italian National Institute for Astrophysics, and it's a big pleasure for me to be here this morning to present the project of the Gerrei Astrofest, a community-driven science engagement initiative launched in my homeland, Sardinia, in Italy, to connect one big instrument, the Sardinia Radio Telescope, with the rural region that hosts it. The project addresses a critical challenge, transforming the presence of a major scientific infrastructure in living cultural and civic resources, not only a scientific or economic asset. Next. Okay, thank you. The Sardinia Radio Telescope is, of course, a radio telescope of 64-meter diameter parabola located in the south of Sardinia. It is operated by the Italian National Institute for Astrophysics, INAF, and it is the biggest radio telescope in Italy and one of the most performing radio telescope in Europe. Next. It is a pretty new radio telescope, so it is one of the technology that has on board is the state of the art of technology in radio astronomy. It has been inaugurated in 2013, but it operated observationally from 2016. So only 10 years of operation. And it is, of course, a national facility for radio astronomy, but since it is a single dish, but also a part of the European very large baseline interferometry network, it has a lot of international collaboration. So, next. Of course, the science of SRT is one of the frontier science in radio astronomy, ranging from objects very near to the Earth, like Sun for the weather forecast science, to the most far galaxy clusters in our universe. Next. As I told you, the Sardinia Radio Telescope is located in the south of Sardinia, in particular in a region called Gerrei. Gerrei is a rural area characterized by a very low population density, an agropastoral economy, and of course limited educational opportunities. It is what we usually define an underserved region. Hosting a scientific facility of national and international importance and relevance in such a context is certainly a great opportunity, but also a significant challenge. The telescope was not, of course, something actively requested by the local communities. Rather, it arrived as an external presence within the territory. For the reason helping people to understand what SRT is, what it does, why it matters, in the same time making it feel familiar and accessible to the population has always been one of the main priorities of my observatory. Around SRT in the Gerrei region, there are 9 small villages. So about 15 years ago, we began an intense outreach and public engagement program specifically aimed to the local communities of Gerrei. But after some time, we realized that it was not enough. It was not sufficient to simply bring science and talk about science. We wanted that the population became an active part of this process. So after some pilot experiment some years ago in 2022, we started a project called Gerrei Astrofest. A festival of astronomy in that territory. If after the first 2 pilot experiment, the version in 2022 and 2024, that involved only in the first edition 1 municipality and in the second one 2 municipality. In 2025, we decided to risk in some sense and try to do a big step forward. And so the 2025 edition was a kind of widespread festival. Of course, thanks to the collaboration with the local municipalities and in particular the community promotion groups, what we call Proloco, we organize, can you, next? An edition next, sorry. Okay, a widespread edition, what we call a diffuse Astrofest. What is a diffuse Astrofest? Is instead of bringing people to SRT, we decide to define a program in which we went in during 9 days, distributed in a month, May 2025, in 8 municipalities, 8 small villages in the Gerrei, as you can see in the map. The Gerrei Astrofest was a complex, in some sense, organization with a rich program of activities. Next, ranging from the most common activities, with a lot of hands-on workshops and play-based learning activities in school. Next, here some example of the activities. Of course, public lecture and meeting with the public, seminars, conferences, some things like this. Next. Of course, telescope observations, being a rural area, the Gerrei is one of the best quality sky in Sardinia. So we organize a lot of stargazing event during the night and also during the day. Here you can see some beautiful picture of this kind of event. Next. and of course, as educational workshops in unconventional places. We want to squares and courtyards. We went in the public libraries in municipalities and so on. In some sense, we move beyond the traditional centralized science festival format. The innovation of this kind of diffuse festival lies in deliberately renouncing large numbers on a single weekend in a big city like Cagliari, for example, in favor of a distributed event spanning 9 distinct dates in a month across the Gerrei municipalities. It's a kind of a multi-site approach, and it is a sustainable innovation for rural tourism, ensuring a low impact connection between experts and small audience. Of course, in this edition in 2026, we try to explore also a kind of improvement with respect to the last edition, and in particular, we started involving schools during the academic year. So at the beginning of 2026, we launched the project. No, sorry, stay in the. Well, okay, we started next. We started a project called Il cielo in classe, the sky in classroom. The sky in classroom is a project of co-design with all the classes in the Gerrei. A project of co-design among researchers, teachers and students. Just talking about astronomy, all the classes were asked to realize cognitive or manual artifacts on a lot of different issues. And of course, we promote the use of tinkering, learning by doing approaches. We worked strictly with the teachers to realize all these activities. Next. The project was developed during several weeks of work in all the classes, and a final event at the Sardinia Radio Telescope, where all the students presented their work to the other students and to teachers and parents
Silvia?
familiar. Yes, I'm closing. So it was a big success for the involving of the scholar population, and we are very happy about this. The festival generated a long-term educational partnership with local schools. And so we plan to continue to keep on this kind of activities from the next academic years. So assuring a long-term impact in the territory. Next.
Silvia, we need to wrap up
Yeah.
to move to questions.
Okay, is just to give you an idea of the number of this edition. Just let me show the number. Okay, if I close it, I finish the time.
Yes, can we move on to questions?
Yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Silvia, for your presentation. Also, connecting the different communities and the local municipalities in that region. I want to ask maybe online if there is any questions first. Okay, so Leonardo de Deoa says, I like how science can literally inhabit a space, starting from the values of the local communities. Do you think a similar initiative could be reproduced or extended for Einstein telescope as well?
Yes, it is something that we are currently doing because, of course, Sardinia is one of is the Italian candidate for hosting the Einstein telescopes. It's like a telescope, and we are doing from last year a long and complex project of public engagement of course, in the territory of Lula, which is the correspondent of Gerrei for the Einstein telescope, but also in the rest of Sardinia. So, for example, in different, the approach is most similar. We learned the lesson from SRT. So as enough, we shared with our colleagues all the things we learned about this, how to connect as a big scientific facility with the local community. And
Okay.
we are trying to improve our projects, our outreach project in this sense.
Okay, thank you so much, Silvia. We don't have time for any more questions, but we, of course, motivate you to go into the platform and ask our speakers. Thank you so much once again, and let's clap.
Thank you. Bye.
So next on the list, we have Erendira Huerta with the talk Female Hunters of Black Holes. Indeed.
So thank you very much. My name is Erendira Huerta. I'm working in the National Polytech Institute of Mexico City. The title of my talk is Female Hunters of Black Holes, Mexican Women Who Inspire Young Students. Next slide, please. I am show you a Mexico City map. Mexico City is in the center of this map. The rest is the metropolitan area. It is a really big city. It is not only Mexico City. It contains also the metropolitan area. The next slide, please. This is one of the biggest cities in the world. Its area covers more than 2,800 kilometers square. The population is more than 21 million inhabitants, and there are nearly of 20 public high school institutions. I'm talking about pre-public institutions of university level. I'm listed the main institution, that it is the National Autonomous University of Mexico, National Polytech Institute, Guam Technological Institute of the State of Mexico, the Autonomous University City of Mexico, and I'm listed this because in this institution there exist degrees related to science and mathematics. Next slide, please. Right now, I want to talk about the situation of female students and the education level. The education of women is quite uneven, while in some municipalities that they are in the center with high economical level, the educational level is around university. Even if they don't finish university, they reach the university, but in another municipalities, the educational level is only basic education, which means that the female students leave the university around 15 years old. So this inequality is directly correlated with the economic level, but also with the geographical situation, because I'm going to explain it later, but they can took more than 2 hours to go and 2 hours to return from their homes to the universities. And there is another factor that only 10% of the students that want to study at the university can enter to the main universities, which means that the self-esteem academic is so low for the people for the students that are rejected of these universities. The next slide, please. I'm going to talk about two municipalities, Tláhuac and Iztapalapa. They are in the right side of the map, in the middle. This municipality has a really low economic level. And the next slide, please. This project is applied to Iztapalapa and Tláhuac. It's about STEM talks about Mexican women researchers who have worked in astrophysics and black holes. They were being done in diverse points of Iztapalapa and Tláhuac at high school and secondary level with the aim to encourage the young students to study scientific and mathematical careers, and the university level students in order to encourage them to continue their studies. And a secondary objective specifically of this project is to direct them to the degree in mathematical modeling at the UACM University, because it has two campuses located in Iztapalapa, Casa Libertad, which was a high security female prison, and right now it's a university, and in San Lorenzo de Sonco in Tláhuac, which is in the middle of nothing. So the project arose about this a short article. The name is Cazadores de Agujeros Negros. And the next slide, please. I don't know if they heard me. The next slide, please. So it is the first example, Deborah Dulcen, that she passed away, unfortunately, last April. She was the first Mexican that works with active galactic nuclei, black holes, and relativity. And she formed many scientists in Astronomy Institute in Mexico. The next slide. Another example that I want to mention is a young astronomer, Liliana Rivera, that she was the first woman in Mexican that won a Hubble Space Telescope observation of binary systems with a star and a black hole. And she's working in Texas University. Next slide, please. These STEM talks, they have to be interactive. We have to discuss with the students in order that they can connect with the astrophysicist women lives. And we have to show that these astronomers have a really happy lives, that it is true, but above all, that they are independent women. It is super important for the Mexican young students, because our society is already delayed in the gender esteem. So also we can explain sometimes as astrophysics, relativity, universe evolution, and to try to connect these themes with the real life of the students. Also, we can rely on AI in order to explain simple way themes with very qualified prompts in order to have more ideas about how we can connect these themes with the students. Next slide, please. Even I don't have statistical results. I've been seeing that I have to do interviews after and before of the talks. I want to present the result of my student that she had her degree in mathematical modeling, Alejandra Cervantes, from Casa Libertad of UACM University. She worked with the galaxy Marcanian 766, AGN galaxy. And as you can see in the plot, she did the optimization model in order to model the X-ray spectra of the galaxy. That the figure of the of the left side in the down is an illustration how an optimization model works in order to arrive to the total minimum. And I'm very happy because she's still working in complex science and artificial intelligence algorithms. So the next slide, please. It is part of the conclusions. These projects have been applied in Iztapalapa and Tláhuac municipalities. Those two names are original names from Mexico. In this case, the aim is to show the degree in mathematical modeling of UACM, which has campuses not in the center of the city, that their campuses are around in the poorest part of the city of Mexico City. This project can be extended in other areas like physics, medicine, sociology. And I want to say something super important. The education has to be decentralized in order that it can reach the almost population. And so thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your brilliant talk on this project, this lovely project in the area of Mexico City. We don't have time for questions just to keep it on schedule, but we really motivate you to outside network and ask some questions to our wonderful speakers. So thank you so much. So next on the list, we have projects from the Netherlands, and we bring to the stage Joanna Holt with bringing the universe to underserved communities in the Netherlands.
Okay, is that okay? Good. Yeah, so my name is Joanna Holt, and I'm the Education Manager at the Netherlands Research School for Astronomy, or NOVA. And NOVA, if you're not familiar with NOVA, that is a national organisation. We represent the whole of Dutch astronomy, and we do just so education, communication, public engagement on a national level for the Dutch astronomy community. And today I'm going to be talking about our mobile planetarium project and bringing this to underserved communities within the Netherlands. I don't do this alone, so I've got an enormous number of names on here, representatives from all of the different institutes that belong to NOVA. So, next slide, please. So, what's it about? In a nutshell, the NOVA Mobile Planetarium, we have 3 mobile domes and a sister dome in Groningen that's coordinated separately. And between us, we cover the whole of the Netherlands. We go to schools, and we go on average 10 to 12 times per week to schools across the Netherlands. Since the project started in 2009, we've reached more than 600,000 students and other visitors. I do this because with a great big group of students, I have 35 students at the moment who go out and give shows every day of the week. And I have another group of students, about 10 other students, that bring the planetarium from one place to another. Something else I want to tell you about the planetarium. You can see a picture here on the right-hand side. That's a picture from inside one of our domes. We have quite a unique approach. We don't show any films. Everything is fully live, fully interactive. It's really a discussion that we have within the dome with the people present. So it's really our main goal in the dome is to actively engage learners. So the interests of the learners, the requests of the school, questions of the audience, they all influence exactly what's shown within the planetarium. And this is possible because of the expertise that we have in-house. So our students, they're all astronomy students, minimum second year astronomy students, but also within our own team, we have the astronomy and planetarium and education experience to train these students up so that they can then go and teach in an interactive way in the planetarium. Something else I want to mention is that all visits that we do are initiated by the school. So we don't actually actively promote it at all. It's all word of mouth. And schools even pay us to go there. So they contribute to the fee that we give to our students and to the transport costs. If you want to know any more, please come and find me later. I'm also here tomorrow on one of the tours. But we also published an article a couple of years ago in the Planetarium special issue of the CAP journal, if you want to know any more. Okay. So, next slide, please. So this is an educational project, but because we're not actually based within one given university, our goal is not to increase the number of students coming to do astronomy, but our actual goal is to give every child in the Netherlands an unforgettable STEM experience during his or her school career. Next slide, please. But at some point, during the relative quiet of Corona, and I say relative quiet because we were quite stubborn and we didn't really stop during Corona, we found every possible way to keep on going during the Corona period. We decided to reflect on where we were visiting, and we made the map that you see on the right-hand side. I know that you can't read the numbers very well, but all you need to know is the red numbers on here, the red circles, that's where there are lots of visits taking place. And the further out to yellow and green you go, that's fewer and fewer and fewer visits. And surprise, surprise, we saw what most people in this room are going to be struggling with their own projects. There are always certain types of communities that you miss. And for us, it was poorer neighbourhoods in the bigger cities and rural areas. So in some ways, it's not surprising that the red dots form this triangle. That's where about 45% of the Dutch population lives. But still, it's pretty shocking when you go further away to see how little we reach those areas. So on the basis of this, we decided to create an action plan, and that's what I want to share with you today. So next slide, please. So the first thing we wanted to do was we wanted to understand what's going on. So we did a small project. We actively contacted schools that we do not reach, and we asked them why. And it turns out the answer is quite complex. Our initial feeling was this was probably to do with finances, because in schools in the inner cities, often they have to put their funds into other things rather than these kinds of projects. And we also thought, in the rural areas, the schools are typically smaller, especially for the younger children. So probably they're not able to fund it because it's relatively speaking more expensive. But it turns out that a hell of a lot of people don't book us either because they have no idea that we even exist, and really surprisingly, that they have incorrect perceptions. They just simply think that their area is too far away from where we're based, even though we're a national project. So using these results, we continued. And next slide, please. The first step was to build capacity. So at that time, we had 2 domes of our own and the sister dome in Groningen. In order to structurally address this, we needed a 3rd dome. So we actively looked for funding for this. And we also realised we needed funds to go and do subsidised visits. So with this, a big thanks to ESRON, the Dutch space researcher organisation, for sponsoring the new dome. And we also got a science communication grant from the Dutch Research Council. Next slide, please. So the first thing we did, we've got 2 different types of interventions. In the cities, we decided we wanted to do targeted visits to schools in poorer neighbourhoods in cities. But we realised very quickly we couldn't do this alone, so we started a structural collaboration with an organisation in the Netherlands called the Weekend School, which has been doing this for many years. Through them, we've accessed, in the last year or so, around 1,600 students and 70 teachers, either at their dedicated weekend locations, and these are kids that are 10 to 12 years old, and they go on a special intensive programme in the weekends for kids that are motivated from these schools. But we also access all of their feeder schools. So there's 35 locations in total that we've done. Next slide, please. And now we're busy with our rural areas. And we're going to do this in 2 different ways, individual schools targeted, but also intensive visits. And that's one I want to share with you now, an intensive visit of the island of Texel. So please go to the next slide. So we realised very quickly to do this part very well, we'd have to make a new map. So this is the new map. On this, it's the other way around, the colour scale. Red means we very rarely go there, and green is a very well-visited area. We chose Texel, the island that's highlighted here, because it's small. Geography defines the boundaries of what we're trying to achieve. There are around 1,500 students there at school, 1 secondary and 11 primary schools, and our goal was to reach all of these kids within 2 to 3 weeks. And alongside that, we wanted to also try and reach other members of the community. Next slide, please. And we're quite pleased with our results. We managed to reach all 12 schools, not quite everyone for various reasons, but we ended up reaching 76% of all students on the island. And with the extra people that we saw in the evenings, almost 11% of the total population of the island. And I've put a quote here. This is some feedback that we got. We all had a wonderful visit. The children watched in awe and had lots of questions. The presenter was happy to answer any question, no matter how unusual, and had an answer for everything, which was immediately demonstrated. And afterwards, we all felt as though we'd been briefly in space. Thank you so much for this unforgettable experience. Next slide, please. What I want to share with you here is a couple of reasons that we think that this visit was so successful. One of the main reasons was that we had a great local contact, a teacher in the school who also has a coordination role. We also had a lot of support from the community centres, the local authority, and the local press. Next slide, please. So we're now changing our goal, and we realised very quickly reaching every child is not going to be possible, but what we actually want to do is give every child an equal chance of visiting one of our planetariums. Next slide, please. And that's why we've created this map now. So the one on the left is the one I showed you just a moment ago. That's the total number of visits per region in the Netherlands. And on the right is the normalized visits. So we'd like the one on the right to be more or less the same color across the country, and that's what we're aiming for. So I'll just put up my final slide, which is contact details for if you want to find out anything about this project. Next slide, please. Anything about this project at all, please feel free to contact us. And you can also look at this article, and there are some other articles in the Planetarium as well about our project. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for showcasing such a thorough action plan in the Netherlands. Thank you. And now we go close to home, in my case, Portugal, with Joanna Marques and their presentation on emotions in the planetarium and exploratory naturalistic research.
Hi, everyone. Hang in there. This is the last one. So my name is Joanna Marques. I work at the Institute of Astrophysics and Space Sciences in Portugal at the University of Coimbra. And I will talk a little bit of some of the preliminary results of this research I've been conducting in emotions in the planetarium. This research was funded by a Planetary Education Research Fellowship from the EPS, so I'm really grateful to the EPS for that. So planetarian emotions. We have been talking, next slide, please. Next slide, please. We have been talking about this all week, right? We know that planetary sessions are emotional activities. They bring the mysteries and wonders of the universe to the public. And we also know that emotions are important to learning, and they shape the experience of the public in the planetarium. So I wanted to know, how is the landscape, the emotional landscape of emotions in the planetarium sessions? Next slide, please. To do that, I use a naturalistic approach based on conversation analysis. This approach allows me to capture the real events unfolding and to study the social interaction between people, the guides, and the public, and to really try to understand what's happening and how it happens. To do that, I need real data, so I record sessions, live sessions with infrared camera, with minimum disturbance, and then to do the analysis, I do multiple visualizations and study also the transcripts to try to understand the gestures, the silences, the repetitions, the vocalizations, all counts to try to understand the emotional experience. And then it's just the systematization of the results. I recorded 38 planetarium sessions in 26 hours of data in total in 8 different planetariums with 9 planetarians, different persons doing the sessions. The planetariums were very diverse, portable, fixed, digital, the old school analogic one also. This was all done in Portugal, and the target group for this research was the preschool and primary school children. So the emotional landscape is really diverse. I was able to identify 419 emotional moments, but of course this is not all the emotions that happen in these planetarium sessions. Some I cannot record, some are not vocal, right? So this is just a sample of what is happening, not the totality. They are very diverse and they change a lot depending on the session. In some sessions, there are just 1 or 2 emotional moments, really sad. In others, there are more than 20, so it really varies a lot. Most of the emotions are positive, in line of these emotions that I describe here, like joy, delight, amazement, awe, sense of accomplishment, excitement. But there are also negative ones to a really less extent. Fear, that was also talked by someone during the week, disappointment, doubt, impatience, but this is to a less extent. There is also boredom, and this is not counted in the 419 that there is the sample of this study, but I think it's also an important result. We lose people. We lose people in every of these sessions. They are awning or looking at the floor. There are always people sleeping in the sessions, so we always lose someone. Maybe they are just relaxed and it's not boredom, but not everybody is on board. The triggers of these emotional moments are mainly 2. They can be related to features in the projection, so they can be visual or performative triggers, and also related to the information that is conveyed by the guide, so conceptual triggers. And they can be in line of the examples I give in a slide, can be awe with something that is projected, can be joy for discovering the answer, disbelief in some information, and so on. It's very diverse. The guides use different methods that we see that trigger these emotional moments. Some of them are, for instance, the emphasis in scales and doing these comparisons to really get to the point of the astronomical scales of temperature, distance, etc. They also do demonstration of concepts that also triggers emotions in people and use humor. And in terms of visual aspect, there's the revelation of the features of the projection, showing the starry night suddenly. It's one of the most emotional ones, or identifying objects and constellations, for instance. And it's also interesting to see that these emotions vary also in terms of the group of people that have them. Sometimes it's just someone that has an eureka moment. Sometimes it's a group of people that react to something. And other times it's really collective, like everybody goes like, whoa, for instance. And those are the really what I call the oh moments. They are the most effusive ones, collective expression. And so the group is all together feeling this emotion. And they are normally triggered by the revelation of the night sky projection through different methods. And sorry, next slide, please. I totally forget I'm doing it here. Yeah. And here you can see some examples of the images that I collect, some screenshots of the kids. Most of them are just like, wow. Yeah, it's normally related to the projection, to the revelation of the night sky. What we have learned so far, next slide, please. So different methods are built in the sessions to trigger these emotional moments. For instance, you can invite children to find objects and answers by themselves. You can encourage them to draw connections between different facts. You can share surprising information. For sure, a combination of these ingredients will mostly likely trigger emotional engagement with the public, and sometimes even too much, as you know, if you work in planetarium. Also, for small children, next slide, please. For small children, it's really important the role of the educator, much more than in the primary school children or with older public. They have an active role adapting the language, making connections with the reality of the children, helping interpret the visuals, and they express their own emotions much more than the others, kind of like maybe telling the kids how to do it in a sense. So I think that close collaboration with these educators is really important for this group of public to try to understand how to do these sessions better. Also, the individual moments of emotion are very diverse. And so even if we have like a class of people, they are very diverse students with very diverse stories. So diversifying the methods and the content may help trigger emotional moments at different points of the session to different people. And also there's the collective wow moments. They are very effusive. They bring everybody together. And so try to trigger these emotional moments also gives another dimension to the emotional experience in the planetarium. What I also, I'm almost finishing. What I, what I also see in this data, the methods that the planetarium use really greatly shape the session and its emotional profile. So it's really related to the person that is doing the session. The more enthusiastic the planetarium, the more enthusiastic the public, and the other way around also. And studying these different planetariums, portable, fixed, digital, analog, I was able to see in this sample that more than the quality of the projection, the method and the enthusiasm of the guy makes the difference. So I think that this data suggests that investing in training may be more important than in the quality of the software, upgrading it, etc. That's more or less that for now. Thank you. Next slide, please.
Thank you so much, Joanna, for bringing this perspective of entering a child's inner world to create this better experience for them. So now we actually have also another talk from Mariana Ferreira-Gomes. I hope that she's here. And yeah, no. But last but not least, Mariana with Inside the Dome, developing a training framework for astronomy communication in roving planetariums. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Oh, I guess yes. Okay. So, hello, I'm Mariana Ferreira-Gomes. I'm a master's student in science communication. And let me see, how can I skip this? Okay, I'm trying. Okay, this work about mobile planetariums and training of the planetarians was born because I'm also a practitioner. So I worked in a planetarium for 5 years. And well, let's go. And why talking about roving and mobile projects? And while surveys on public perception show how strong interest in science among Brazilians, access remains deeply unequal, shaped by socioeconomic and cultural factors. So, 60% of the Brazilians shows interest in science. However, there's a low index of access to museums, for example, or planetariums. And in the case of the Rio de Janeiro, the map here below, we only have 3 planetariums and a huge number of people in the state. So mostly the people don't have access itself to the museums in the regions in Brazil in general. So the mobile projects and the roving projects play a key role on the boundaries between science, technology, and society. And it's important to say that boundaries are different from walls. So boundaries are places to negotiate and promote dialogues between the people. So I searched what are frontiers or boundaries boundaries in the Google, and those are the pictures that they sent me. And thinking in the roving process as a boundary, the mediators, so the planetariums, are between these boundaries, between these frontiers. So they are kind of objects at the intersection of science and society. So they are who are speaking with the people and speaking and with the science. So it's important to see them and important to see how they work and how they are being trained. How I was being trained, like there was no training at all. So this operates in different dimensions. So it's not only the educational, but also the social and the interfaces between the roving and the public and the public itself. And diversity enhances the action and experience itself. So we start from the point that the human component, so us who are practitioners, never returns to our base, to our home, in the same way that we left after a session, for example, of the planetarium. And thinking about the mediators training, this is a model from Erendira from Brazil. So these are some of the ways that people can be trained to be mediators. And the main one for us, at least that we see, is the one called apprentice and master. So the people learn how to mediate and how to talk with the public, seeing the older ones talking with the public. So if there is a good thing, the people learn with this, and even if there is a bad thing, probably they will learn with this too. So specifically under the dome, all the planetary sessions are not the same, at least in the mobile ones, because we have the dome itself, we have the astronomical content to talk, we have our training, but we also have the component of the people who are visiting us and or that we are visiting, right? So their life, their relation with the territory, this everything around this is different and we don't have the control. So we can visit a fabric, we can visit a house, we can visit a school, and this will be completely different one for the other. So how do the pieces of the communication training in the life of the people and how uh, are the worldviews will change, how they fit together? So this work talks from the experience from the Planetarium that is where I worked for 5 years. This started in 2013. It's a team of 15 people, and this is a roving project linked to the Brazilian Astronomy and Astronautics Olympiad. So this is more about rethinking the training of planetaristas or planetarians in Brazil. So this is also a fight of us because most of the people who talk with us and call us to work them think that we are recreation leaders or monitors or teachers, and we aren't. We are planetarians. And also the name of planetarium operator is just a part of our function. We work with a lot of stuff. So, due to the interdisciplinary nature, the training sessions are conducted primarily by the team members themselves. So, based on the teams that we feel and the collective experience, we are changing the training. However, it's important to propose adaptations and also new training models for practitioners because it's important to institutionalize and formalize this work and this and our role in the mediation. So the roving process involves understanding that each place has its own unique characteristics, social context, and perspectives of the world and the universe. Therefore, it's essential to train not only the scientific concepts, but also in history, equity and inclusion, and effective communication skills. So, oh, it's in Portuguese, the main, sorry, but the proposal of the course for training, it's in 5 key topics. The fundamentals of astronomy and related sciences. So it's important also to talk about the concepts, but also about what is science communication and outreach, what is the theoretical framework below this, and also a small training about interaction and audiences, and about the use of technologies and teaching resources that we use in the planetarium, for example, the stellarium software. And also, this is an important part that we usually forgot, that is the crisis management and self-care. So strategies and techniques to preserve the well-being of the mediator. So we usually forgot this, and forgot that the people who are mediating are in contact with not only the public that is watching the session, but also with the policymakers that are calling the people to work there. So it's important to see how this mediator is prepared for this and for eventual situations that can be hard. So this is the page of the training. So learning by doing and learning from identifying the demands that emerge throughout the service are aspects that permeate projects with itinerant practices. And it's important in this work to prioritize the flexibility on the part of the projects or institutions according to pre-established mediation objectives. So, which modules to extend, which to reduce, should we pay more attention in, for example, communication or more in the astronomy content? I don't know. It is different from the institution for institution. And also, the aspect of content learning is important from the perspective presented by this proposal, but it's not placed as a central piece. There are a lot of characteristics that we need to focus also. So, by the end, to be quick, it's a universe of opportunities considering these factors. We hope that planetary sessions will become spaces where science and culture can be experienced. So, to engage in dialogue with society, about some of the processes involved in constructing scientific and astronomical knowledge in a critical way, and also promoting justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and maybe the sense of belonging of science and astronomy, using astronomy as a tool, and to present concepts of astronomy from different cosmological perspective. For example, the indigenous perspectives in Brazil, we have a lot of indigenous people, so why not to carry this? And different experiences and actors can meet, negotiate, and dialogue, share, and co produce knowledge, memories, and meanings from the same sky. So that's it. I tried to be quick because I know that we are on time. So thank you. And this is my email if you want to talk with me, give suggestions. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mariana, for highlighting the importance of training as well in this session. So I would like to bring both Silvia and Mariana into the platform if it's possible, and our in-person speakers. So Joanna, Holt, Marques, and Erendira, please, because we can have a bit of a open discussion or some last questions while we wait for the people in the workshop. Can you please come here? I heard there are some questions online for Joanna and Joanna. Uh, maybe. Okay, for Joanna Holt, did you find the cost to be a barrier, and is it optional for schools to pay? If so, are the costs covered by funding or other means?
Okay, that's a great question. If schools ask us to waive the fee, then we do try and do what we can. In general, cost is not a barrier. It's only really a barrier for schools that have to funnel so much of their funds to other issues that they have. For example, in a lot of these areas in inner cities, They have to fund extra language tuition for newcomers to the country, that kind of thing. And primary schools in so there, that's also more expensive. And the funding that we have now also enables us to be able to do this much more often. But yeah, we always look for ways to find a solution necessary.
Okay, this is now for Joanna Marques. How did you uniquely identify the emotional triggers? Did you also collect personal feedback after the event?
No personal feedback. It's just what they are doing with no interference. I just go through the recordings over and over again and sample these little bits of data and then analyze them. And of course, it's not that the interest here is not to univocally point that this is awe, this is astonishment. It's like in general, the general feeling of that kind of emotion. So it's not super precise what emotion is, but what I do is that I isolate these little bits where emotions happen, and then I study them deeply.
Now I want to ask in the room, are there any questions for our speakers or Mariana as well in the end? Okay, I'll give you the microphone.
Thank you for Joanna. Consent. How did you obtain consent to record children?
Yes, with the consent with a form that goes to the parents or to the responsible before the sessions. No, of course. Yeah.
I have a question for Erendira. So, I mean, you mentioned that you touch on the topic of being a female astronomer and how satisfying it can be, but do you also touch on the challenges that female astronomers face?
It's a curious question, a good question, because you know that it is too difficult. But yes, all the time I say that it is strong, those are strong careers that we have to be perseverant, and we have to work every day in every minute. I use a phrase that Miriam Peña told me. Every day we have to advance an epsilon, like the mathematical concept of limit, and it's epsilon to reach our objective. So yes, thank you.
I also have a question for Erendira. Hi. So you highlighted at some point the fact that you're using AI for complex subjects such as general relativity and, I don't remember the others, but
yes.
There was that point. So what is the added value that AI gives you to do that compared with humans doing that?
Until last year, I started to use the AI to expand my ideas. For example, to explain relativity, I'm not saying like, there is an equivalence between the matter and the energy. I start with events, no, in the space-time. So one of the ideas that the AI gave to me was, for example, the GPS. I didn't think about it, no, and the GPS is an application, a direct application of the relativity, but I have to develop a qualified prompt. The idea, I think that the main idea you have to create the main idea, and if you write with attention your prompt, AI can give you new ideas to develop. So, you're welcome.
You should stay there, por favor. Gracias. I wanted to ask you specifically about the mentors, the role models that you're connecting your girls with, how many of them went to Mexican schools, stay in Mexico for their career? And do you think your project can address that aspect? I live in a rural community, and when our students learn science, they think they have to go far, far away in a big city to do science. And I just wonder if your project addresses that.
The education of astronomy is diverse because, in the sense, for example, Deborah Dulcin studied in the Soviet Union, no? And then she finished her PhD in the Sorbonne in France. So I think that all the formation for the astronomers have to be international formation. I want to say something that Deborah Dulce told us. The astronomy is very difficult, but very, very difficult and complex. But if you are going to win something, is that you are going to travel a lot. And me here is the perfect example because I was her student. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have a question. Actually, I have two questions for the two Joannas, okay? For the study of emotions in a planetarium, I think it's very interesting. So is this something that can be published? Is there any journal that deals with these kind of things?
In general about this topic, there's not a lot of things, and it's scattered a bit. In sociology and psychology, you have journals dedicated to emotions, so it's a big thing in that area. In science communication, not so much. It's starting. This will be published in the Planetarium shortly, I hope. Depends on the reviewers. And then I will continue the study, so yeah. Yeah, and I have a paper, yeah. Thank you. I have a paper on JCOM on emotions in observations of the sky that is already published in a special number on emotions in science communication. Okay. I can give you the link to that.
Okay, thank you. And Joanna, I want to ask you, since you have experience in going to schools and that, which age group do you think would be the most beneficial students for a planetarium experience? Is it the small ones, the high school students? Which one, in your opinion, would be?
Oh, that's a good question. So we generally see kids from 4 years old and upwards. So anything below 4 is really not particularly easy to do, and I don't think they really retain much from it. They can also be quite scared. Sometimes in the planetarium because it goes dark. Exactly. So we recommend from 4 years upwards. I personally think that upper primary school age, so 10 to 12, is a really good age. They're old enough that they're really engaged. You can actually have really good conversations with them. They know quite a lot of basic concepts already, especially if they're interested in this subject. And of course, it's also the period of time that we know that if you catch the imagination of kids in that age range, there's been a lot of research done on this, you can actually have an impact on what they may choose later on. I think it's also very important to reach out to the older kids. But of course, often by around age 14, they're already starting to make choices in school which have a big impact on where they can go later on. So you may be like the tipping point if somebody's deciding between physics, astronomy, or chemistry, for example. But I think if you want to have the biggest impact, 10 to 12.
Well, let's thank again our speakers. I know there are some questions online and also on site, and I'm so sorry that we don't have time to cover those, but feel free to reach on Ring Central. That's why we have the platform to keep connected. I keep repeating this, but it's for a good reason. Also, to hype you up a bit, there's now the closing session where along the way it will be revealed where the next CAP is. So let's look forward for that moment, and let's once again clap to our speakers. Thank you so much.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. For those who don't know, my name is Daniel Kanema. I have been volunteered to be the chair for the closing session, which is an honor. And I'll take the stage for a moment just to say, on behalf of all the participants, I think that I can speak for most of us to say that a huge thank you to Areg and the team for bringing us to Armenia, for showing us incredible hospitality, giving us the opportunity to connect with people from around the world here. And I think it's really been a very special week. So thank you.